For those of you who've been able to stay, we really appreciate it, and I think you're in for a treat. I think this is Richard's Queensborough debut. Is that right, Richard, reading here? He's been a friend of mine for a long time. We share the same cubicle with 12 other people as well. And he's a poet of note, and I'm really happy that he's here to share his poetry with us.
Thanks very much. It's great to be here, and it's wonderful that Susan Jacobowitz has invited all of us, and it's wonderful to hear these other readers. I'm going to read from my first book, which is called The Apprentice of Fever. I'm reading from it because in my amazing poetry writing class this semester, I talk a lot about process, and this was a really long process for me because I started writing these poems in 1990 and ended up finishing in 98. And so it was a little bit of a long process, and so I'd like to read from it first. And the context for these poems is HIV/AIDS. It's called First Anniversary. On our first anniversary, after we drunk one bottle of champagne, we climbed to the roof. Rung by rung, 12 stories up, the second bottle in the hip pocket of your fatigues, you pulled me up the last hot rung as if helping me to climb out of the black pit inside myself. You popped the cork, tipped the foam into my mouth, not too dry, not too sweet, just as your mouth was not too dry the first time we kissed. You took a long swig, leaned close to my face, and I started to fall. Cliff edge, cornerstone, brick. I felt your breath on my mouth and knew you were not going to die tonight or tomorrow, the rich blood flowing in you still. I suddenly bit your lip. June, July, another life. I tasted a drop of your blood and went to the edge. The mystery is not this city or how it is one person can know and not know another. It is not how long we'll last on this earth, the wind like God's breath claiming us. I did not feel afraid. I teetered, and you called me back to your arms, and I smelled the rich odor of your body, the sweat I could drink like rain falling over us, button, zipper, nipple ring. We left our bodies behind. And when we came too close to the sun, I felt myself fall back into my body. I looked closely in your eyes, Central Park, Fifth Avenue, the maze of the city inside you, standing on the ledge. In sickness and in health. For a week you lie beneath one sheet. The fever comes, your face darkens, the way a boy's face will flush. The forehead hairs dampen when his father comes at him with a fire prod. Then the chill comes, you sleep beneath 5 blankets, your body shaking as a boy will freeze and crack along a fracture line when his parents lock him out on the coldest night of the year. Your head rests heavily on the pillow, your face pale then bright with the pink blooms like bruises, and I know you were a boy whose father struck him with whatever was handy, a rifle butt, a baseball bat, a brick once, and I lift the blankets as if parting the veil that separates us from the next world. I touch your underwear, checking for wetness, smell your urine on my fingers, sweet as the life still in you, slide the cloth down your skinny hips and skinny legs, take the sponge from the bowl and clean you off. I wipe the sticky sweet from your penis, see how shriveled and clammy the skin is, how the tiny hairs are braided together, curled, as if frozen beneath ice. And I come even closer, see the pink flush of the head, the greenish web of veins on your thighs, the mole on your left testicle. I think how many times you have wanted me to explore your body in love, and I dry you off, pull up a fresh pair of underwear, climb into bed beside you. I press my clothed body against your ribs, shoulders, your fine, intelligent face with the nose I've come to love despite its imperfection. I feel your eyelids move beneath my fingers as you wake for the first time in 2 days, and I kiss your forehead and dirty silver hair, comb out the knots, your whole life opening in the room. When Carolyn said, this is a personal poem, like the fourth one you read or fifth one, whatever that was, I thought, God, what a luxury that would be to not write about personal things. But I have, we're all sort of aware of our limitations and maybe our gifts. So my limitation happens to be that I need to be personally engaged somehow, like almost secretive, some secretive thing to make me really want to write. And this is sort of one of those secrets, really, because I grew up in California and spent a lot of time in cars, which is probably why I don't own one now and haven't driven in 20 years. And this comes from an experience I had there. It's called The Chase. I don't remember where he was taking us, but the radio was on. Father tapped his wedding ring against the steering wheel and whistled like he always did when he was away from my mother. Maybe we were going to get a fifth of something or other. Up Telephone Road, I wasn't fighting with my brother. I was lulled by the even keel of the engine, the car so full of sun, you would have thought life was bliss, narcotic. I was numb when the red sports car pulled in front of us. Father hit the brakes. My seatbelt tightened as if someone had reached his hands up through the chassis and was pulling me by the waist, but my body lurched out of his grip, and we stopped before we smashed into that car. The couple inside didn't know they'd pulled in front of us. They were drugged by the smell of the ocean on a clear day. I think they even kissed, and Father pounded his fist against the horn and said, "Goddamn guys driving worse than a woman." I looked at my brother, and the Porsche pulled away, but Father couldn't stand it. He leaned out his window and yelled, "Whose old lady taught you to drive?" And the guy heard. His arm appeared. He flipped my father the finger, and that was it. Father gunned it, and the guy saw us coming, so he gunned it. We flew up the on-ramp to Highway 101 doing 60. The Porsche darted easily in and out of traffic. We were losing him, but I was proud to be on the racetrack with such a competent driver. I remember Father saying, when you hit a guy, you have to lean your weight into it. So he floored it. We almost hit a school bus. Father smiled as if anger made him happy. His eyes lit up bright as radar in the pupils of the $6 million man. I was staring at a hole in the seat cover where Mother's shoulder usually was when my brother spotted the Porsche, turning into the JCPenney Center where Mother liked to shop. Father cut off 2 cars and made a quick right. I thought he would fly through the plate glass storefront or smash that car to pieces, but he slammed the station wagon into park and jumped out like Clark Kent bounding up through the phone booth to show his 2 young boys how to treat people in public. He grabbed the driver's door and raised his fist and reached in to pull the guy out. When his face turned blood red, his mouth slackened, his body went limp, as if he'd never seen a woman before. And since there aren't young kids here, let me read a couple of poems that are not inspired, but related in my mind right now to a student in a composition class that I'm teaching right now who's writing about bullying in high school. And even though this doesn't happen this doesn't take place in high school, neither one of these, I associate bullying in my own mind with very closely with hate crimes, and that seems to be where it sort of begins. So let me read these 2. The first is called "Whatever Happens to the Lesbian Happens to Me." after Muriel Rukeyser, who is a fantastic, or was, well, her work still exists, so she still is, a great 20th century political poet. I think of her as a political poet. Whatever happens to the lesbian happens to me. Whatever happens to the lesbian walking down 7th Avenue at 2 a.m., not thinking of danger, touching the turquoise earring her mother gave her, new stubble of the crew cut, wondering if she went too far, passing 3 college boys, drunk, in front of Snookies, hearing one of them slur something she can't make out but knows the gist of. She's remembering Trina's face in the light and is not thinking as she turns down Garfield of the dark street or the still trees, the dog barking down the block, and how she'd always walked with eyes in the back of her head and doesn't hear the approach from behind and is caught dead mid-thought as someone cracks a bottle over her head while someone slams the pipe into her knees and someone swings the bat that cracks her rib. She's not thinking of anything but the pain as she falls on the concrete in our human city. Her mother dreaming of a house in the country, her father ordering last call, her brother getting up to feed the baby, then going back to sleep. Whatever happens to this woman who is me and not me, as she hears a voice lunging at her over skies, over oceans at a great distance, a voice yelling, "Stop, it's a woman." And that woman hearing 6 feet running like 6 drums beating in her head, and she thinks, "Where are my glasses?" and touches the blood on her hand to the blood on her face and prays to a God she quit believing in some time ago and thinks, as she tries to get up, "We're not separate, ever," and is changed forever. In the middle of the night, 8 blocks from my room, whatever happens to the lesbian is happening to you asleep, is happening to me asleep, safe in my lover's arms. And I'll end with another 2-story poem, this time a train poem. I suppose every poet in New York City has a train poem, so this, unfortunately, is mine. It's called On the Way to See James Dean. I hardly notice the man who gets in at Parsons Boulevard, 1 seat over from the man I swore I'd spend the rest of my life with, read the Sunday Times with, go to the movies with, to see if James Dean is still sexy. Drinking our coffee, I say, "Hun, check this out," showing him a picture of the Klan leader convicted 40 years after killing the boy whose body was found floating in the Tallahatchie, and the man must have heard. Without turning his head, he spits out his words, "Fucking faggots, fucking homosexuals." Everyone in the car stops moving, stares into their cups or at a printed page, and I can't tell who he's talking about until he turns toward me, the way psychos in movies look straight into the camera when they say something that makes your spine freeze. Fucking fairies want to get married. Wish I had my piece. I'd use it, motherfucking faggots. I look down at my gold band, look over at Rohan's gold band. I secretly give up on God, Gandhi, see myself get up, take my Uzi from my back pocket, hand grenade from my left shoe, my 10 queer fingers morph into switchblades ready to cut his lip to pieces. I open my eyes, tell the love of my life, we should move to another car. But Rohan is someone who will not be taken down a notch or two. He tells me he doesn't want to. So I pour white light into the car, Hail Mary, full of grace, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Vishnu, Sebulisa. I see the people from above. The way they say you notice every detail in times of crisis, your life flashes before you, and you note how the white man and the brown had not kissed or touched. At the moment of impact, you remember every color and nuance. You see gold halos above the human orders seated. You hover over the dark-skinned mom who sits stock still, Bible in her lap, staring at the man as if daring him to come 1 inch closer to her 2 pink-ribboned girls, clutching her arms in terror. You love your neighbor. the Chinese woman with her bag of Chinese cabbage, the red-haired 18-year-old who presses his chest into the back of his raven-haired girlfriend. You admire the tenacity of the Jewish man reading from his book of prayers, each word silent on his lips, and you love the black man with his cane, the two girls in the corner of the train who might be in love, the Indian woman in her best sari, coming home with her husband from the Mandir, which is when you climb higher, get a wider view of the world's delicacies, love the diversity of ocean fish and grains of sand, love birds of every order, insects of every hue, the 7 miracle wonders, shore to shore, continents kissing other continents. You recognize how each island, separate to the naked eye, is connected underneath. And just as you realize that everybody loves the planets and the air they swim in, you come back into the car and have the chance to love humans of every persuasion, even the ones who want to bomb the hell out of every creature still breathing. Fucking wedding rings. I grew up in the hood and know a faggot when I see one. He grins at me the way the female soldier in the paper smiles over the pile of naked bodies she's standing on, to be pleasured by power. There on the brink I stand, holding pictures of people whose heads were blown off during morning prayers in mosques, 4 girls whose bodies caught fire in a southern church, the man assassinated while he talked on a porch, people living without arms, ring fingers buried deep in the Sunni sand, Jerusalem, Palestine, Bali, London, on the brink. We stand until we arrive at West 4th Street, and we get out of the car, checking to be sure the man doesn't follow us, but he stays in his seat, grinning at us. Through a window scratched with someone's initials, he flips us the finger, and the train disappears, leaving Rohan and me to argue about the best way to walk to the theater. We battle it out in front of perfect strangers, salt on our popcorn, diet or regular soda, left, right, or center of the screen. And as James Dean walks toward me, I can't make out his terribly beautiful words. Thank you.